Alex, can you please talk about how people in the SSP and other programs might be reimbursed for their service? Will there be appropriate psychological support for those individuals? I have many clients with fractured consciousness, and this will not be healed by the medbeds. They are going to need intuitive and spiritual support. Thanks for all you do.
That's a really good question. And the only answer I could give you would be my own opinion based on speculation, knowledge, firsthand knowledge, and discussions with others. First, let's deal with partitioned memories and fractured personalities. You're right, the med beds won't fix that. The med beds will fix many other things, but not that. I am sure that someone, either on Earth or not on Earth, part of the Alliance group, can tell by energy signatures who's been off-world and who hasn't. One of the things that, if I were in that position where I needed to begin the process of healing someone or someones who were in the SSP, or the 20 and back program, a 30 and back program, or it just did a 10-year tour, 8-year tour off-world, and then had to come back, and their memories were wiped of that experience so that they could come back to Earth and function on the surface. One of the things you'd want to do is to be able to sit with them and debrief them. And what I mean by debrief is you would sit there with others, and you would, if you had physical proof of their experience. And then what you would do is you would gradually, what I would do is I would gradually bring them back into the program by showing them, this is you, this is what you were doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what I would try to do is I would bring back their memory slowly to the point where as it's coming back, it's integrating with who they are now. And at the same time, I would bring them into the program because they obviously have skills. They obviously know already on some level how to handle themselves in space. They know what's expected of them. They know about meeting and working with other extraterrestrial races. They know about the technology, how to work around it, maintain it, etc. They know what it's like to be on a starship in orbit. They know all these things, zero gravity environments and heavy gravity environments. Not to mention whatever their MOS was, okay? Military occupational. That's how I would bring them back. Now, that may work for many, and it may not work for others. I'm sure that there's other technologies that are available that could bring that back. But some portion of themselves has to still be there. It almost always is. And then what happens is once they come back and you've brought them back, now what you have is, instead of a liability, you have an asset. You have someone who can assist not only off-world, but also on the ground, educating people as to what the truth is regarding our space program and how old it is, where it's been, how it founded, what it's a part of, the greater picture of what it's a part of, the technology that already exists that has been withheld from the surface. Now you have people who have this information, have this knowledge, can begin sharing it. And as we bring in the new world, the advanced society we were meant to be hundreds and hundreds of years ago, as that begins to come into light, and it comes from space down to the surface, to everyday life, with the use of technologies and knowledge and information, as that begins to hit the surface and become part of our everyday life, these people already having had that experience and having now integrated that experience in everyday life, these people now become, in many cases, leaders or teachers because they've had the experience. It isn't where they read it in a book. They've actually had the experience. And because you've had the experience, you've now acquired a great deal of wisdom because you've done the work, you know what works, you know what doesn't work. And you've seen things. You've worked with other extraterrestrial groups. So you can begin the process of saying, look, these groups, they're great to work with. They're very much like us. We pretty much want the exact same things, yada, yada, yada. And then there's this group you want to stay away from. But fortunately, they're not going to be here anyway because nobody could get along with them. So these are all things that are really important because now it's at a grassroots level. The disclosure is grassroots and it expands. And when you're talking to your own people, to your own family, all right, and they know you, there's a lot to be said for that. There's an awful lot to be said for that. That's just one of the ways I would do it. I mean, you could blast it off on the television, but we have all these years and all these decades of Hollywood, of mainstream media. We are all waking up to the fact that we have been completely bamboozled by these people. Just snookered, laughed at, misled, yada, yada, yada. So we're not going to immediately jump onto that bandwagon and say, oh, yeah, this is it. No, why would we? We would, of course, approach it with a great deal of skepticism. But it's when one of your own who's been there comes down, and sits down with his parents, sits down with his siblings and says, look, this is what happened. This is what happened. And I remember now, and they can pull out their wallet and it shows, Space Force, SSP, Solar Warden, Earth Alliance, ID card, and says, look, I'm here to help. I'm here to help humanity get to the next level so we can integrate into the future as quickly as possible. But I needed you to know, Mom and Dad, or, my brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, etc., what this is all about and where we're going from here. That's what I would try to do. That's what I would try to do. We don't need any more fractalization of humanity. That's already been done. And look at where we are. Okay? You have those at the top planning our executions, genocide us, and we're down here arguing over Trump or Biden. Or, Putin's a bad guy, or Macron, or what's that idiot up in Canada? Trudeau, that poser. And we're arguing about that stuff. Meanwhile, we're being fed plastic rice, plastic vegetables. Our country is literally being sold out right from underneath us. Fentanyl coming across the border, destroying our youth. We have got to get it together here. We have got to get focused on what is really, really important. And what's important is now, right now, everybody getting briefed on where humanity is at. Where's the earth at? On a political, environmental, all the factors. Where are we at right now, this minute? What is it that we have to do to turn this thing around? And how quickly can we do it if everybody does their job right? And how are we going to get the tools to do it? The biggest thing in order to get everybody to work together, I think, would be their health. Everybody's sick. A lot of people are sick. But we still have issues with our food chain. It's been poisoned. Chemtrails. They have poisoned everything. Even organic crops. Okay, you don't spray with pesticides, but what about chemtrails? You know, are they holding an umbrella over Jerusalem artichokes? You know, so they don't get any chemtrails on them? No, they're not. No, of course not. So, you know, it's a big one. That's a big one. I mean, I just gave you my 2.5, 3 minute, what I would do off the top of my head. That's what I would do. Because this has to be grassroots. The power has to be given back to the people. We have got to take the bull by the horns for this to work. Otherwise, we're just going to create another pyramid of power over us. And no offense to the military, that's not their job. It's not their job. It's not. We, the people, have to do it. Globally. All of our governments should be of and by the people, for the people. That's what it has to be. So we can protect each other. And by protecting each other, we can remain free once we've fully established our freedoms.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please